It's a school district decision.
Thanks, Ron.
Take point for anything that you need.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that.
All complaints directed to Ron at USD 49.
Everybody have your stuff turned off?
No.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yes.
It's not 401 yet. I got time. We will call the Thursday, March 23rd City of Hayes Commission meeting to order. 4 or 5 commissioners are present. First item on the order business, actually, I will have staff recommendation to remove item
6.
Item number 6, the nuisance abatement from the agenda. Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Okay. Item number 6 is removed. Then we'll move on to the first order of business, consideration of approval of the minutes from February 23rd, 2023. Questions, changes, or comments?
None.
So moved. Okay. They'll be approved as presented. And now the financial statement for February 2023.
Thank you. This report contains financial summaries for revenue and expenditure activities. City of Hayes, month ended February 28, 23. Revenues in February totaled $3,555,000. That's an increase of $564,000 compared to the same period as last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue: miscellaneous revenue in the new equipment reserve fund was up $43,000 due to the sale of several items on Purple Wave, including a tank truck and a 3/4 ton pickup. Water reclamation reserve miscellaneous revenue was up $154,000 as we received the developer's share of the 55th Street Sanitary Sewer Project. Notable areas of revenue decrease: transient guest tax for CVB was off $23,000 as compared to a year ago, and golf course revenue dropped $22,000 as compared to this time last year. Expenditures in February totaled $3,751,890. That's an increase of $315,000. Notable areas of increased expenditures: employee retirement and Social Security expenditures are up $24,000 in the employee benefit levy when compared to a year ago due to the increase in salaries across the city at the beginning of 2023. Fleet maintenance was up $14,000. The Home Depot Economic Development Bond Fund was up $240,000 due to the early retirement of those bonds, and other contractual expenditures for IT were up $55,000 due to the timing of payments for the Tyler and Lucity software contract renewals. Notable areas of decrease in expenditures: airport improvement expenditures were down $29,000 due to the apron rehab and beacon replacement work at this time a year ago. Social services and special alcohol were off a combined $198,000 due simply to timing of those allocations last year. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $945,586. That's an increase of $99,000 or 11.7% compared to a year ago. Month-to-date general fund sales taxes at $1,686,294, up $105,000 or 6.7% from a year ago. 6-month average is at 5%, which was a drop of 12.5%. And month-to-date county sales tax collections were at $114,610. Year-to-date county sales taxes at $204,247. The report of top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was up $36,000 or 1.4%. Those represent 75% of the total sales tax collections for the running quarter. And finally, the total par value of the U.S. Treasuries securities is at $64.6 million with a weighted average yield of maturity of 3.2, up 2.8 from a year ago. Total portfolio certificates of deposit on February 28th was $4.4 million with a weighted average rate at maturity of 4.3%. Total balance of the money market account on February 28th was $5 million with a current yield of 2.325. Total investments were up $4,689,552.
Make a motion we approve the February 2023 financial report.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Any other questions or comments for Kim?
Just had a question on the CVB guest tax. Was there anything big that, why there was such a change, or?
We just happen to have the director here.
Yeah, I see that.
Answer that. I think overall bookings are down slightly for that particular quarter. Remember, we're a few months behind, but I believe, if I remember correctly from the last report, that bookings were down slightly.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, Kim. Citizen comments for non-agenda items. Move on to the consent agenda, just the cereal malt beverage license application.
Move approval consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Musil. Any other comments on that? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Now we'll move on to item number 7, the airport snow removal equipment building award of bid.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jamie Salter, Director of Hayes Regional Airport. I have 2 items for you tonight, both pertaining to the airport snow removal equipment building project out at the Hayes Regional Airport. To give you a little bit of background here, airport maintenance shop that we currently use was constructed in 1996. It was completed with grant money from the FAA, funded through the Airport Improvement Program, or AIP. A quick overview of the AIP program. Projects are identified by the airport, approved by the FAA, and then federally funded with grant money, typically requiring local cost share. At this point right now, it is 10% on the local side. When funded through the AIP program, snow removal equipment building size is actually dictated by the airport's AIP eligible snow equipment. And 27 years ago, that would have been the loader and the plow there, shown on the left. New building is eligible for just under 9,200 square feet and is based on the 7 pieces shown here on the right. Airport is also eligible for 1,500 square foot wash bay and then just over 600 square feet for pavement de-icer. In October 2021, the Commission authorized staff to enter an agreement with Burns & McDonnell, the airport's engineering consulting group that we use for the design and engineering services for this project. And during design, staff chose a location that blended well with future planning and development objectives. Shown here, it would be just the very south end of the hangar area. We chose a drive-through design for bay, just as shown there on the right. Purposely chose the drive-through design because it allowed to maximize the AIP eligible space within the building. Let's see here. We did include ineligible. When we originally did the design, we included ineligible space that was not to be funded with grant money and it would have been 100% city cost. Ultimately, we removed that space. Being tied into an AIP project with their strict project requirements inflates the cost, and we determined it was not the most cost-effective option.
Can I ask a quick question, Jamie?
Yes.
I may have heard this last week. I don't remember. Are we going to have a lot of excess capacity in that building?
No. So this building truly is only structured for those 7 pieces. I know it seems silly, but it's only structured and identified for storage space in those 7 pieces. That being said, we have a lot of additional snow equipment out there, and likely with space, as long as we can, adequately store it and have space to move and work around, we will probably put it in there. I don't foresee the FAA having a problem with that. Typically, if there's additional space that is not funded with AIP money or designated as, determining that space, we wouldn't normally store that in there, so we wouldn't put mowers or, trucks and things like that in this.
So basically, they've allowed you square footage per item that's going in there.
Yes.
Okay.
So it
Thank
is
you.
dictated, and the drive-through design, if we would have done just a single access point on one side, there's 10, for our size of equipment, there's 10 feet in between. The drive-through allowed 20 feet in between. So it, considerably maximized that space. And then knowing that the snow removal equipment, the additional stuff, it's airport stuff, it's only used at airport, it's all snow equipment, I would not see them fighting us over making the airfield safer by,
Good.
using our extra
Thank
stuff. We are still determining how to proceed with the additional space that we had brought to you in design. Once we find a path forward, we'd be in front of you again asking, or going over that with you. Bids for the construction of the snow removal equipment building were open on February 9th. We received 1 bid from RDH Electric and Construction of Hayes, coming in just under $3.2 million, which is actually $400,000 less than the engineer's estimate. RDH has completed similar projects to include Invenergy's 7,000 square foot warehouse and offices for the Buckeye Wind Project, a 24,000 square foot indoor training facility known as the Pit, and are currently working on the A&W restaurant from ground up in Ellis. Single bid analysis was required to be performed at Burns McDonnell. That's part of what we pay them for in the design services. Because we only received one bid, FAA requires us to comb through those to make sure that we did our due diligence and along with Burns Mac as far as trying to promote the competition as far as in the bidding process. So they completed that for us, just part of the AIP requirements that go along with the project. Commissioner Jacobs clarified last week that that $3.6 million engineer's estimate is for the current layout only. I know I spoke on the space that we had removed. Ultimately, that $3.6 million is just for the 4-bay AIP eligible space. If we would have the additional space, again, we won't know because we didn't bid it, but was looking at between $650 and $1 million, depending on how we finished it out. And that would have been for only a 2,300 square feet. So it was much higher than what we could do outside of AIP process. Total project cost of this is just under $4 million. Grant funding will cover about 3.5, and then city share will be $450,000. Adequate funds are available in the Airport Improvement Fund to cover these costs. Contractor will have 330 calendar days to complete this project, which will begin this summer. Construction will have no impact on commercial air service, but it will require closure of portions of the taxi lanes. We'll coordinate with tenants and issue required notices just to make sure that they can reroute operations for apron access if necessary. Commission has these options, and this is the action requested. We'll stand for any questions.
Jamie, I have a question. I know you said the location was selected based on future plans.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct that that location could have never been a hangar anyways? There's not enough room.
There's not enough room, and we don't, before we buy any land or do anything as far as any type of development, the FAA requires us to say how we would use it. So we had acquired land in recent, to the east of us recently, and we had to say this is how we intend to use it. That can change, not set in stone, but essentially we do have to tell them that we actually need it and this is how we would use it. That space is not ideal for anything. We don't have taxi lanes. There's not access points for it. So it truly is, I think at one point we had identified it just in limbo as a parking lot, or something like that. So
Thank you.
I move we accept the bid from RDH Electric and Construction, Inc. in the amount of $3,196,628. Swallow as I say that amount, to construct the snow removal equipment building at the Hayes Regional Airport contingent upon the FAA awarding a grant for the federal funding and authorize the city manager to carry out this project, including the execution of the FAA grant agreement when offered.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jacobs, second from Commissioner Musil. Any other questions or comments for Jamie?
Just have a question on that building for that price. If this was not on airport, would the building still come in that same kind of price?
No, I don't know how much cheaper it would be, but it would be significantly cheaper when you stack in the federal regulations that come with federal monies and the FAA requirements. It adds a lot of cost to the project, but it adds cost to everything she does out there.
Yeah.
That we fund with FAA money.
I mean, I love the project, just the price blows me away. But
and essentially we'd have to beat it by 90% to make it, not
Right.
Absolutely.
the best path forward for us.
Yep. All right.
We couldn't buy it for $450. I do know that much, but it wouldn't be 3.1. I mean, we're getting a fire station for what, 3.6?
That's just the
Yeah.
comparison I made in my brain. I'm thinking a tin building to put my snowblower in versus an airport.
Is there
Versus
special?
fire station.
Is there a special fire suppression system that's going that's different than any other building?
No, it's all actually goes towards, the fire chief, the fire department is the jurisdiction having authority out there. A lot of it is administrative requirements. There's a ton on our end from the airport and a ton on their end as far as daily inspections, daily reports they have to fill out. And also there is by American requirements and that type of stuff. There's DBE participation. There's just a lot of administrative stuff that goes with that. And then also the materials themselves can be more expensive because of those Buy American requirements.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 4-0. Now we'll move on to the construction engineering part.
Previous agenda item addressed the bids received for the construction of the snow removal equipment building at the Hayes Regional Airport. Part of this project, as far as the FAA guidelines, requirements, include construction inspection and observation to ensure that we're adhering, or the contractor is adhering to the project plans and just satisfying the terms of the grant funding. Burns and McDonnell, like I said, is our airport engineering consultant. They had presented a scope of services and a fee to accomplish the required construction oversight and project documentation. Cost of these services is about $385,000 and is eligible for the 90% funding through the FAA. Remaining share for the city would be just over $38,000 and would be funded through the Airport Improvement Fund. Commission has these options, and this is the action requested. I will stand for any questions.
Make a motion to authorize city manager to execute work authorization number 4 with BMCD in the amount of $384,948.69, with the city share $38,494.87 to be funded from the Airport Improvement Fund, contingent upon the FAA awarding a grant for federal funding.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Any other questions or comments for this?
Jamie, I was just looking through this again. I read it and I didn't see it. How often does Burns and Mac have to be on site?
They typically, what we had done when they first presented their scope was full-time inspection, which is what we typically do on other projects, just because it's harder to correct those if you put concrete. There's certain areas where they're going to be here every day. But as far as the the building construction, that we actually pulled that back so that original design every day, or original agreement, or their scope and fee was $750,000, which it's a 10-month project, so that is a lot. But I mean, it's a very high amount for something like that. So we did have them basically pull out whatever was not needed. If there's things that don't extremely task city staff, we can complete those. Contractor can complete some of that stuff. Burns and McDonnell is actually using a different system where they can do some of this stuff electronically, so that obviously cuts down on the cost considerably as far as them coming out here. So,
And they're okay with some staff inspection? Okay.
yes, as long as it's a qualified, somebody who's qualified to do that. We just obviously don't have that in-house from the airport engineering
Right.
side of things.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
All right, sanitary sewer lining award of bid. Mr. Crispin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. The capital improvement plan within the 2023 budget includes a project that is labeled sewer line repair projects and CCTV inspections. Staff developed a project to accomplish lining of approximately 10,000 linear feet of 8-inch sanitary sewer line in our system. This project is part of our ongoing maintenance program for our sanitary sewer system. That includes sewer line cleaning and inspections, manhole rehabilitation, sewer line point repairs, and sewer lining. And I might remind you, the April 6th work session, I'll be back to talk about sewer manhole rehab and sanitary sewer lining and CCTV inspections. This project is similar to projects we've completed in 2019 and in 2021. A couple visuals that were included in your packet. This visual shows the general area of the project, basically pretty good sized portion of the city of Hayes, but everything there in red. This visual is also included in your packet. Each red line represents a segment of sewer line that will even from manhole to manhole. We'll have a new sewer line through that line. This is just a sample of the pre-work that the Office of Project Management, Water Resources, and the IT department do in anticipation of these projects. As I've mentioned before, we do sanitary sewer cleaning and inspection. That's been performed since 2013. The inspection of those lines gives us a data set of tap intrusions, cracks in the lines, sagging of sewer lines, and other areas where camera inspection could not get through. We call those abandonments when that camera cannot get through that line. So we need to make sure that we get in and take care of those things. Staff uses the data to develop our program for repairs, which we typically alternate between spot repairs or they're called dig and replace spot repairs on 1 year, and we'll do lining the next, and we just kind of continue that pattern. The intent of this year's project is to perform lining of our sewer system, which contains the largest number of cracks and issues that we've seen and notated on previous sewer inspections. This is just an example of an intruding tap. Basically, there are 35 within this project, so the contractor that comes in, they will do a pre-inspection. They will grind down these taps with a piece of equipment that goes into the sanitary sewer line to make sure that that tap is flush with the inside of that pipe. Some people might ask, how does that happen? Ground settles, things push down or push into the side of the pipe, and we need to make sure those are taken care of and they're not creating an obstruction in the sewer pipe. So that'll be taken care of with this project. What is CIPP sewer lining? It's trenchless, it's quick, it's cost effective. Typically, you don't have to take anything out of service. They can get in and get it done quickly and reestablish the taps for the private taps for each home. It can be a polyester resin or other material that is pulled through a manhole and inflated with steam or water. You might, if you were here last week, you would recall that I had a video. The video is not playing very well, so we did take that out of this week's presentation. Once complete and installed, problems such as infiltration of groundwater or stormwater leakage and deteriorating infrastructure is repaired. And as I mentioned before, we've done this in 2019 and 2021. We've been very pleased with the way it works. Really, again, that's just kind of an example of materials. I forgot to bring in my little pipe that I had last week, but it looks similar to that on the right side. It can be felt or it can be resin, but it's typically like a PVC that's reinstalled within the new sewer line. Staff solicited proposals from 6 contractors to perform lining of about 10,133 linear feet of 8-inch sanitary sewer line, remove those 35 taps, and perform scale removal. It's just an additional treatment of a pipe that might have some deterioration on the inside. They can go in and remove that material and make the pipe kind of back to its normal size. This project included a couple other alternatives that were within the memo. We chose not to push those forward through this year, but we will add those to an additional project on a following year. On February 28th, we opened bids from those 6 companies. We're pretty familiar with all of them. They've actually bid on projects before. And the contract calls for the work to be completed by the end of the year. Mayor Specialty Services, the apparent low bidder, basically said that they would come in May of this year and they would intend to complete their project by November 2023. While Mayor Specialty Services has not done our previous lining projects in 19 and 21, they did come to town actually and do a kind of a demo for us on a short section of line on Hall, and we were very pleased with the performance of that sewer lining. So we're very happy with that. Also, we've worked with Mayor Specialty Services on previous sewer line cleaning. They've done the last 4 years of our manhole rehabilitation program. The project manager is the same guy. We're really excited and hopeful that we can work with him again. So on financials and consideration, the project was listed in CIP. We do have a budget of $300,000, and it's to be funded out of water reclamation capital. While the amount, $320,721.12, low bid from Mayor Specialty Services is more than the $300,000, there are adequate funds within water reclamation capital to cover the cost that is being proposed. These would be the options that I would ask that you can consider. And this is the action I would request tonight, and I would stand for any of your questions.
I move we authorize the city manager to enter an agreement with Mayor Specialty Services to complete sanitary sewer lining at a cost of $320,721.12 to be funded from water reclamation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one question. I apologize if you answered this last week.
Oh, that's okay.
Is there any downtime of services to the community?
No, that is not expected because
Okay.
they'll go in, they'll do a pre-inspection. They know exactly where a private tap is.
Okay.
Once they go in and inflate the liner for it to cure, the cure time is not very long, and they will go right back in and reestablish services. So we don't have any expectation to have to bypass any sewer. So things would remain in service.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Additional questions or comments?
I just appreciate the continued preventive maintenance. You know, as we've seen this week, I know you and your staff, and I want to kudos to you and your staff for the water issues you guys had this week. It seems like it's an everyday thing, but I mean, how you guys get it taken care of in a timely manner, and this is why we do this. So
Yeah, I'm very excited for the work that we do with the sanitary sewer system, so thank you.
good job.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody today about how proud I was of staff taking care of things preventatively and keeping our infrastructure as well maintained as it is. So appreciate you guys doing all that. Okay, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, 13th Street Reconstruction Design Contract. Jesse.
Good afternoon, Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. So the first item I want to talk about tonight is, just a little quick.
You did good. You said afternoon, now we're back to tonight.
It's going to take a long time to get used to that. This afternoon, we're going to talk about the 13th Street Reconstruction Engineering Design Contract. General location of the property is East 13th Street from approximately Anthony Drive east to Commerce Parkway, as you can see on the map here. This is primarily adjacent to the USD 49 property and the high school, and of course, that's kind of a precursor for the project as well. A little bit about the project. It is approximately 3,500 foot in length, 36 foot wide lane width when we're done. As you know, the project, the street itself is currently a 2-lane wide asphalt street with no shoulders, no curb and gutter. When we're done, we do intend on having a 3-lane asphalt street there, 3-foot shoulders on there. We will also, I do want to mention, extend the pedestrian, the multi-use path along the north side of the street, and it'll extend the full width of the project at an 8-foot wide path there going out to Commerce Parkway. Again, I mentioned it's about a 3,500 foot long project. The project cost estimate that was put together was just under $2.5 million. And as you can see in the schedule here, we do hope to get design started spring of 23. We intend and expect to have final design by the end of 23 and hopefully even let a bid by the end of the year or shortly after the first of the year, for construction to then begin on the project by spring of 24 and ultimately have the project done in full by the end of 2024. Due to MKEC Engineering Incorporated already being engaged in a project with USD 49 for the high school project and the associated site improvements along with that project, we solicited a proposal from MKEC for the design services for the reconstruction of 13th Street. This was done mostly to avoid duplication of services from multiple engineering firms working on related projects. Staff actually negotiated with the MKEC and feel their proposal is very reasonable and consistent with past projects of a similar nature. If approved and we go through the design, a request for award of bid will be brought back to the commission in late 23 or early 24 for your consideration. Financials on the project, as you can see, of course, tonight we're just talking about the engineering design, the $120,000 engineering design, although we do include up here the total estimated cost of the project at $2.45 million. We have actually received a cost share award from KDOT in the amount of $1.2 million. We'll actually be coming back to you in April for approval of the KDOT agreement for that particular funding. And then the city has budgeted up to $750,000 and the county up to $500,000 in participating funds to complete the project. These will be your options. Of course, we'd hope you would authorize the city manager to go ahead and enter into the contract with the MKEC for the design of this project and the action requested. Any questions?
Make a motion to authorize city manager to enter into an agreement with MKEC Engineering, Inc. into the amount of $120,000 for engineering services related to the design of the reconstruction of 13th Street from Anthony Drive to Commerce Parkway to be funded from Commission Capital Reserve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Questions or comments on this?
Just like to, I'm sorry,
Nope.
Sean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on the partnership that this has taken on. the county's commitment to the 500,000 to our 750. It's going to be a great addition. It's going to be very necessary with the new school and the middle school moving out there. So I just appreciate the commitment of 500,000 from the county.
Yeah, kind of what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, that's great. For not only the school district, but for the county working with us, and also the people living out there with all the added, new housing out in that area, I think it's time. So I think this is a good thing we're
It'll
doing.
be nice.
Yep.
I think
Very
the
cool.
walking
Yeah, adding
connection of the
yes.
walking path will
Good
be
point.
huge too.
Good point.
Absolutely. All right, then I will call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thanks, Jesse. Now we'll move on to the annexation of property located at 2500 East 13th Street.
Okay, my next two items are related to each other. The first being the proposed annexation of the USD 49 property, which will be the location of the new high school in the coming months. We did receive a consent to annex for the property to request annexation of the property into the city limits. We did receive that consent from USD 49. As you probably know, the property has been in ag production for many years, is currently undeveloped, and as I mentioned, it is the proposed location of the new high school. Public sanitary sewer and water are both currently accessible from 13th Street for the property, making this not only a contiguous property, but also all services there are available for development. Here again is just an image showing the 40-acre area. It lies just east of the current high school. This is actually a simple item as far as the various types of annexations that can occur. This being a consent annexation means the property owner fully consents to the annexation. Doesn't require a lot of the other things for non-consensual, public hearings and various items like that. So your options on this one, of course, annex property as requested or choose not to annex the property. However, staff would recommend annexation, and this is the action requested.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 4026, annexing the property at 2500 East 13th Street as legally described within the adopting ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cunningham, second by Commissioner Musil. Further questions or comments?
I'm excited. This is a big step for the start of the new high school. So it's just one thing. But thank you for being here, Mr. Wilson. Hopefully everything is on pace to.
On pace. We're getting close.
It's exciting. I know I hear a lot of people talking about it, so it's exciting.
Long time coming.
Yes.
Good to see.
30 years.
Yeah. Any additional questions or comments? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the rezoning request from AL to PI.
Okay, so the second of the related items here, we just talked about the annexation of the property, and now we're going to talk about the same property, but we're going to talk about the proposed rezoning of the property. Kind of one of the final necessary steps for them to be able to construct the school building out there. It is currently zoned agriculture, and the request is to rezone it to public and institutional district, which would allow construction of the school. You can see the location, obviously, same location here, just east of the high school. I did mention earlier, it's still, in most recent history, has been used for ag production, and that's soon hopefully going to change. USD 49 does own the parcel. With every rezoning, we do want to show not only our current zoning map, as you can see in the map on the left, that does show it in the green, which is the ag zoning, but also our future land use map found in the comprehensive plan, which is the map on the right, shows it as civic use, which are uses such as schools and other government properties. Based on this information and the maps and the approved comprehensive plan, the rezoning request is very logical and is considered orderly development and in conformance with adopted development regulations. With all zonings, we'd like to show you the various uses that could be used on the property if it were to be rezoned to, in this case, the public and institutional district. You can see the various uses. These are allowed by right or permitted uses that could be located on the property if you approve the rezoning this afternoon. These are limited uses. These would be also allowed. However, there would be certain administrative considerations that would be taken into account if someone chose to do this on the property, any of these uses. And then the final group are what we call uses by exception. Any of these uses on a property zoned public and institutional would require Board of Zoning approval, public hearing, and notification of surrounding property owners. As with all zonings, this one did go to the Planning Commission for consideration. They met at the February 20th, 23rd Planning Commission meeting. There were no comments during the public hearing portion of the meeting from the general public, and the Planning Commission did vote 5-0 to approve the zoning and move forward for City Commission approval. State statute on a zoning allows you 3 specific options. You could approve the zoning as was recommended by the Planning Commission. If you had issues with the zoning, felt it needed more review, you can send it back to the Planning Commission with the specific basis for doing so, or you could deny the request, which by state statute would require a 2/3 majority vote to overturn the Planning Commission recommendation. However, staff would recommend the same as the Planning Commission and would recommend approval of the zoning.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 4027, approving the change in zoning from agricultural district to public and institutional district for the USD 49 property located at 2500 East 13th Street.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cunningham, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Questions or comments on the rezoning? Nope. Then I will call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Okay,
Thank you, Jesse. All right. Next item on the order of business will be the public hearing for special assessment, the Kingsgate Second Edition Improvement District. I will declare the public hearing open at 4:36.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. Just a housekeeping item here for you today. Special assessments for the Kingsgate Second Edition within the City of Hayes are ready to be finalized and assessed to the property owners. This public hearing and the next item and ordinance are the next steps that allow the city clerk to assess the cost of improvements should the property owners choose not to prepay. Kingsgate Edition is in the very northwest corner of the city, as shown by the little red circle on this map. A little closer look, Kingsgate is more commonly referred to as Royal Court, directly across the street from the new fire station. This will be a 20-year assessment split equally among the 22 lots out there. This includes installation of water lines, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, grading, paving, curbing, and guttering. The total amount to be assessed is $470,000. That includes an estimate for issuance costs. Current property owners of record will be mailed a notice of assessment and given 30 days to pay their assessment in full. That assessment is estimated to be $21,363.63 per lot. If they choose not to pay, then the assessment proposed and the cost of improvements plus interest charges will be placed on the bond and on tax roll with the county. First installment will be included with the 23 tax statements issued by the County Treasurer's Office in November. It is worth noting that an issue like this is likely going to be a local private placement. Public offering at this amount and this term is difficult to do, so we've contacted several banks in Hayes and we have some interest there, so likely be a private placement. As with TIF, CID, and IRB, special assessments are a fun marathon of procedures and trips back to see you. Green box indicates the assessment-related activity. The items in yellow are trips back to you for review and approval. In May will be the bond sale resolution so that we can pursue that private placement. Then in June, we'll be back with the results of the bids for the private placement and passage of the bond ordinance and bond resolution. And in July, we will close and have delivery of funds. So after you take public comment today, I'll need a motion to close the public hearing, and then we can move to the next item, which would be the ordinance.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the closure of the public hearing. Any additional comments from this public? Seeing none, I will call for a vote on the motion to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Public hearing closed at 4:39. So we'll move on then to the next agenda item, which will be the ordinance itself on the improvement district.
The motion we're requesting this evening is on the screen.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 4028, assessing the cost of improvements to King Gate, second edition as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Any questions or comments for Kim on this? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, R9 update. Toby.
We like those.
Toby Doherty, City Manager. Thank you for allowing me to give you a quick update on the R9 project. I did put a couple things at your seat that I'll refer to. This is the transfer schedule for the water transfer proceedings. We had a pre-hearing conference meeting 2 weeks ago, and the pre-hearing conference will wrap up next Friday. Most of everything's been determined for the pre-hearing conference, but there is still time to make last-minute changes. The public hearing will begin on July 19th. The public hearing will end on August 2nd. And this is by statute. Then you can see, assuming everything goes to statute, when we should get the hearing officer's order and when the transfer panel should review and hopefully ratify that positive order. Transfer hearing, it was decided by the administrative law judge, would be held in Wichita. We are still working on a venue. Our attorneys, paralegal, sent a list of possible venues to the administrative law judge's staff, and the administrative law judge wants to get a set as soon as possible. So hopefully within a week, I will know what venue the hearing will be. By statute, there is going to be a public comment hearing in Hayes. We don't know where that's going to be. Melissa is working with the Office of Administrative Hearing Staff in order to find a venue. There is a public comment hearing in the Basin of Destination. So we will try to then glom onto that and have a joint governing body meeting with the city of Russell the night before. We have not set a time, but we're going to try to figure out whether late afternoon, like one of these meetings, or early evening works better for you and the Russell City Council. And then our attorneys and representatives from Burns and McDonnell will be up here in order to have a discussion with you. We're probably going to request an executive session, so the commission and the council and Russell Mayor can enter into executive session and have a candid discussion with the attorneys about the proceedings moving forward. We have received the design contract proposals. I should say design contracts because we have a well field contract and a pipeline contract. We have them separated in two separate projects. We are working to bring them at the May 4th work session with hopefully approval at the May 11th regular meeting. We can get design underway. We have conducted an initial review. We gave them to Mel today, who's started his review. So we'll work and have them ready for May 4th to get them adopted. And then we had a meeting on Wednesday or Tuesday with Burns and McDonnell in Kansas City. And one of the things we talked about was the land acquisition services and the timeline of getting the land acquisition people on board. This is where we're at right now, getting the RFQ out mid-month of April, and then hopefully getting somebody onboarded by August 10th and have them, they're critical very early in the process. This is subject to change. It would likely be accelerated rather than backwards. We're going to try to keep it as accelerated as possible, but I just want to give you an idea of where we're at. So as we are moving towards this, we're putting a lot of information together to prove our conformance with the state statutes of the transfer hearing. And, there's some information that I think is not only relevant, but relevant to why we are moving forward in such a compressed manner here and keeping our foot on the gas. As you know, we're in a drought. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see we're in a drought. And when you look at the drought outlook, it does not look good for us. We are on that cusp of either remains but possibly improves, but more than likely persist. And so this is not a good sign for us moving forward. So as part of the process for the water transfer process, our engineering firm did a deep dive into using all the data they know from our well field in order to determine what would our well field produce in a moderate drought, an exceptional drought, and a decadal drought. So on the left, you can see we have permitted water rights for 4,500 acre feet. If we could produce that year in, year out, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So in a moderate drought, that number drops down to 2,500 acre feet is what we can produce out of our sources. I do want to qualify something. The Dakota well field is perfected at 882 acre feet of water. It cannot produce 882 acre feet of water. You could possibly hit it very hard one year, but and produce more than 120 acre foot, but you're going to be requiring some advanced treatment. When they opened up the Dakota well field on an emergency basis in the early 90s, they had to put portable reverse osmosis units out in order to make the water potable. So it's not a sustainable long-term endeavor. It's a confined aquifer. It doesn't recharge, or if it recharges, it's extremely minor on the recharge. And the more you use it, the more difficult it gets to pull the water out, and the worse the quality the water gets. So 120 feet is the number, acre feet is the number we use for Dakota. That's a sustainable number we can use moving forward. So just to put things in perspective, as a community, we use 2,100 acre feet a year. So in a moderate drought, meaning, hey, we get a couple years of drought, this is the maximum extent of what your well field's going to produce. So your well field is producing just slightly more than what your residents are going to need. That drought goes a few more years and you're not producing enough to keep up. And so I think they're optimistic on the 1760. I think on the drought between 2011, 10, 11, 12, 13, that area, I think 1760 is tough without really mining our sources. And so we could produce 1760, but the next year you're producing less. And the next year you're producing less if the drought goes on. So you get into a decadal drought, a 10-year drought, you're producing 840 acre feet. That's all. Now, think about how miserly we are with water, and then what it would take for our residents to only use 840 acre feet of water. So to me, that's a disaster waiting to happen, which is why we need to make sure we keep our foot on the gas here. So there is an article I placed at your desk. It's from a journal called Science Advances. I know Sean has a subscription, but the rest of you probably don't. So you might want the copy of it. It deals with I had to take that shot, John, sorry. It deals with the probability of drought in the Great Plains. And it's difficult to get a historical record of drought in the Great Plains. So when you get west, you hear about the mega droughts in the Southwest and all the drought history out there. The reason is because when you get west of us in the mountains, they have trees that grow and they live a long time. Especially bristlecones, which can live 4,000 years. So they have a great record with tree rings to go back and see what the climate was thousands of years. We don't do that in the high plains. And in fact, before we showed up, the high plains burned every year when lightning would strike and set the place on fire. So they had to get really creative and really deep into scientific methods to try to figure out what our drought history was and then try to use that to predict. But the gist of this article is, what you see in this visual is the bottom is the Southwest. You see the dry years, the wet years, and then you see the predictability moving forward. And it doesn't look good. It looks like more drought moving forward. We are lagging slightly behind the Southwest. We stay a little more normalized for a while, and then we start trending down just like they do. So the scientists have made the determination that our outlook probably isn't much better than the Southwest. We're just going to lag behind them a little bit. So this shows the actual known precipitation. This goes back to 1895. So this is based on actual precipitation. You can see wet years and dry years. The one thing I would point out is it's been pretty wet as of late. So look at all the green up to today versus all of the brown back in the 20s and 30s. We're actually in a pretty good time. So when you have the probability of droughts going up and a history of what happened. I was at a conference in Albuquerque about 5 years ago where the climatologist in New Mexico gave a speech, and they had used tree ring data going back like 10,000 years, and there were droughts that lasted 150 years in the Southwest. And they were actually, even though they were in the beginning of a drought, they had been in a very wet period out there. So we have the potential to get dry and stay dry for a long time here. In the journal article I gave you, this is their takeaway, and the Central Plains is on the top. If you look at the time between 1950 and 2000, and it's the Palmer Drought Severity Index, and there's some soil moisture indexes, but the red one is what you want to check. The probability of a decadal drought or a multi-decadal drought is actually fairly low for us, but the probability moving forward, it gets very high. So it's a long-winded way of saying this is extremely important for us. And we can't wait around 5, 6, 7, 10 more years to do this. So with that, I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Toby, I appreciate all the information on the drought risk and whatnot, because I mean, all it does is drive home the point of, one, why we're doing what we're doing with the R9, and two, why our conservation efforts are so important. Because the R9 is not going to be a fix-all, it is going to be a major help to us. So we need to continue to work on our conservation efforts throughout the process and after we get the R9 and beyond. Because we're going to be hitting more droughts, obviously, so.
Well, and when I say it could be a disaster, it could be a humanitarian disaster, because if we get into a decadal drought and our well field can only produce 800 acre-feet of water, the regional average, the vertical region in Kansas that we're in uses about 155 gallons per capita per day. We use 83. So we're using about less than average right now, which means if you're in a city that does nothing for water conservation and you get into a situation, you've got a lot of low-hanging fruit you could probably enact to get that down. We don't have that much room for error.
Yeah.
So we can't squeeze ours from 80 to 40 or 80 to 20 or even less than that without really enacting some harm on our residents. So that's where we have to really be careful on this.
Toby, I was, watching your testimony in Topeka, explaining to them what we're doing here, and you could tell by the questions they were asking you, they admire, what we've done here, and, wanting to know, how they can do it to get better, because it's not just Hayes now, it's affecting our whole state, and, we got to continue doing what we're doing, but it's, we need more. We can only do so much.
Yeah, we've reached a point. We need more source.
Yep.
We aren't going to conserve our way out of this. We just don't have enough locally available source.
I think it's a great point, because I listened as well, and one of the things they said that I think is important for the whole state of Kansas, they'd love to have Toby take this show on the road, because people really need to understand and take the people with them that are teaching, taking Holly along and everything that we're doing in schools. We could impact just of what Toby, which we believe is more than anybody in the state of Kansas knows. We could impact seriously the state of Kansas and the water issues. So, if they ever ask, we'll put you in a car.
After we finish this.
After we
After
finish.
all projects, yes.
They can't have him yet.
Can't have it.
No, it does. It shows up. I knew when we got to visit the Capitol on Monday, it was what all the people that came up were like, man, you had a really wonderful testimony. It really opened a lot of people's
really
eyes.
did.
I don't think they think about it until it's actually presented to them of, hey, this isn't the time to wait behind. It's time to act, and we're doing it here. So appreciate you.
Thank you.
Put on the gas.
Yes.
Thank you on the gas.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
All right.
Here comes progress.
Progress report.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. And for this month, there's a Chatola Creek excavation, so 112 yards of sediment was removed from the area near the bridge at Indian Trail in Chatola Creek. Of course, this sediment had been deposited over time from water running through the channel. 4 yards of concrete was used to complete repairs after Water Resources had to install a fire line tap for the Frontier apartments. And then this is the time of year where crack sealing operations begin and are in full swing, and this will continue through the spring. Stormwater staff operated all the various flood gates in Hayes. This is done 1 to 2 times a year to ensure they operate well in the event that we need to close them during a flooding event, which, as Toby just showed us, may not happen.
Just for looks.
Since Nex-Tech was here recently, I thought I'd highlight this. So students from Big Creek campus did complete some lighting circuits in a storage building at the Public Works building. And as you heard a few weeks ago, the agreement is the city and Nex-Tech help perform small projects like this to provide students with real-world experience. The fire department was invited to read to area children at the library. Construction of the new fire station has begun. Some minor dirt work. The general contractor is Paul Wertenberger, and they're expected to have this complete by May of 2024. And then the Hayes Fire Department participated in the statewide tornado drill on March 7th, and this drill was organized by Ellis County Emergency Management and St. Francis Ministries. 61 of the Bickelschmidt Sports Complex wayfinding signs have been refinished with new graphics. Staff have been working to reinstall them ahead of the upcoming sports season. The Vineyard Park Pond Enlargement Project is underway thanks to the Ellis County Public Works Department. When complete, the Vineyard Park Pond will be 2 acres in size, where currently it's only a quarter.
Wow,
Only a quarter acre today. Wow.
a lot of fish.
Parks Department staff added and leveled fresh warning track dirt prior to start of the Fort Hays State baseball season at Larks Park. And then another Nex-Tech project, staff installed conduit at the municipal park shelter so those students could install lights for users at the facility. For IT, finance, HR, and IT wrapped up a lengthy upgrade to the city's enterprise resource planning software. So this software controls the financials, human resources, and utility billing for all city departments, making it one of the most complex and important pieces of software in the organization. PAC 133 Bear Den visited the police department on March 5th for a short tour, and they also viewed a patrol car and discussed what it's like to be a police officer. Sergeant David Valesing gave a presentation to the Fort Hays State University's Criminal Justice 101 class on March 7th about his career path. And Community Service Officer Nikki Hausler read books to children at the Hays Public Library. On March 13th, staff responded and repaired to a water leak at 29th and Ash. This was the 8th year-to-date water main break. And staff also repaired water meter cans and installed new concrete around cans on Main Street and Montgomery Street. On Tuesday, March 14th was World Water Day Fun Fest, which was held at Sternberg Museum. City of Hays Water Resources Department, Stormwater Division, CVB, along with the KSU Watershed and 4-H Water Ambassadors assisted in educating the public on conserving water and how to protect our water system. So some photos. And the next day, some volunteers took time to judge around 629 entries for the water poster contest. This was the most posters that we've had ever entered in a contest and basically doubled. So on February 24th and 25th, CVB staff fed approximately 350 coaches, administrators, and Fort Hays State workers in the hospitality suite for the 3, 2, and 1A state wrestling tournament. VIP guests did include Mayor Mason Reuter and Representative Barb Wassinger. Each year, CVB staff does help Special Olympics Kansas to match up participating teams with local sponsors. This year, Abbey Arts with CVB helped connect 19 local businesses with teams that needed sponsors. And on March 17th, staff helped distribute 600 meals to the athletes. Mayor Reuter also gave a welcome to attendees at the opening ceremonies.
No. They did, though. They were great.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
J-Corps has started the 2023 Waterline Improvement Project by installing fire hydrants at various locations around the city. And then the project also includes replacing old water mains along 23rd Street, 24th Street, Cottonwood Lane. However, this work won't begin until June since the contractor is waiting on supplies. The project was approved by the City Commission last November at a cost of $630,000. Any questions?
Good stuff.
Good progress.
Staff does a great job.
Not a lot of bad progress, is there? Never. Melissa with Hays Happenings.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon with the Convention and Visitors Bureau with some things that are happening coming up in April. And even if you can't attend everything, it's just good that you're aware of what's going on around town. The Chamber will host their 3rd legislative coffee, so you can go ask your legislators questions April 1st at the Hays Public Library. Doors open at 8 and discussion will begin at 8:30. The Fort Hays State Encore Series, which has had a wide variety of great shows this season, will present songwriter Steve Dorff, who has penned a lot of hit songs that you will recognize, but I'm not going to spoil it because he will tell the stories of those songs. at his performance April 1st, and he will play a few of them at Beach Schmidt. Sternberg will host Astronomy Night the same night, April 1st, at 8:30 p.m. They will have some mobile planetariums in the lobby, and then they'll also have telescopes set up out on their nature trail. Kiwanis will hold its 49th annual Easter egg hunt at Fort Hays State Quad, April 8th, 9 a.m. Be ready to go quickly.
Take 2 minutes.
If that's
Yeah.
And then our High Plains Barbershop will have their 55th anniversary show, April 15th at Beach Schmidt Performing Arts Center. You got 2 chances to go, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Then RPM Speedway will host First Responders Night, so all of our first responders get in free to this race, April 15th. Fort Hays State will host its annual NIRA Rodeo, April 20 through 22, once again at Doug Phillip Arena. And the Fox will present another great show, April 21st, Creed Fisher. It looks like they're going to have 2 concerts sell out this month, which is very exciting. Hays Arts Council will host their Spring Art Walk. Normally these are on a Friday night. This one's going to be an all-day affair on Saturday, April 29th, downtown and on campus at the Moss Thorns Gallery of Art. And the 49th annual ACE auction, the auction for Christian education, will be April 29th at TMP. The theme is ACE under the big top. And then nothing says spring like tournaments starting up at Bickelschmidt Sports Complex on that new turf. We're going to have one actually called First on the Turf, April 1st through 2nd. We're expecting 30 teams for that one. USSSA Fast Pitch, they're planning for 25 teams. And then the April Mayhem, at the end of April, they'll expect 70 teams. And then this weekend, look for a few extra people in town for the Fort Hays State Invitational Cheerleading Competition. They'll take place March 25th at the Coliseum. Any questions on any of those events? There's-
I have one thing to add.
Yes, please.
Hayes Symphony Orchestra concert, Saturday, April 22nd, 7:30 p.m. Beach Schmidt Performing Arts Center.
Just
I'll
got
be
the
on
posters
stage.
for those. Thank you. Thank you. And there's so much more than this. There's dog Easter egg hunts. There's special needs Easter egg hunts. There's an Easter event at the
Just read about
Sternberg.
the dog Easter egg hunt today.
Colin told me not to be up here all day, so.
Oh, come on,
So I'll direct you.
I thought you were going to sing for us when you said, you know, you weren't going to spoil the fun, but.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I'll always direct you to our community events calendar, visit Hayes.com, that has 10 times this. More events in Hayes.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Look at Wally standing there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool dude.
Who? Wally.
Jeff's just scaring the children. Commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Cunningham.
I just want to state it again. We've said it many times tonight, but I feel like we just have the best of the best here. All the way from the bottom to the top. So love our community and all our employees, and good luck to the Lady Indians tonight for soccer. Kicking off their season in Great Bend. So, yes.
Very nice. Commissioner Jacobs.
I'll brag for Elena. She has a freshman girl that's playing varsity soccer tonight in Great Bend, so that's very cool. I'm just excited about everything we have going on. Every time Melissa comes, like smiling the whole time. But it's so nice to have sunshine, people out on the streets. It's that time of year, so get out and enjoy and gather and enjoy each other, because that's what this community is all about.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Musil.
I have an employee on the soccer team tonight too. So
Excellent.
yeah, good luck to them. Also, there's I think a pretty big game on TV tonight. So good luck to all you cat backers.
I don't have a whole lot. I won't keep everybody from March Madness and the fun and the teams and the good weather. I will. No executive sessions. Thank you guys for all you do. I appreciate it. And we will adjourn at 5:04.